Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Talkin' Star Wars. Sitting across the pond from me is Mr. Scott. And Scott, we're talking Star Wars Celebration and everything that came out of Celebration this year, 2017. I know people can go over, they can listen to our post celebration reaction. However, this is our first time sitting down and really breaking down everything that happened in Orlando this year.
Yeah, there's so much information that came out, especially on the Friday, Saturday. There was a lot of information, but my God, there is a lot.
There's just so much to break down, and we are just going to start firing it off right now. Scott, I think probably the highlight of day one, the 40th anniversary panel, Uncle George is back. He's back on stage. He was getting ready to talk about the 40th anniversary of Star Wars, and to bring all those people out, Scott, was just a wonderful experience, especially not just for those that were there, but even for us at home watching from the Star Wars show live.
Yeah, it was great to see that. Just great to see Uncle George, as you say, come out on stage. Like Kathy Kennedy gave him a great introduction, and then if you're watching it from home, or like me, I was watching it at my work on my iPhone, just the whole crowd erupted. And even I was in the staff room by myself, so I was erupting, shouting, just going, yes! To see George Lucas there. And then just to see, like, his chat with Warwick Davis, and then they started browning out Hayden Christian and Ian McDermott. And nice to see the Emperor and Anakin on screen together for the first time, probably since Revenge of the Sith. And then nice to get like videos from Liam Nielsen, who's apparently working with Jar Jar somewhere.
Oh boy.
Don't know. And then Samuel Jackson on his little iPhone just hinting that Mace Windu is still alive and he's still in the mood for that Mace Windu movie. And just to see, then we got the original cast coming out of school. So you had Peter Mayhew, Anthony Daniels, Billy D. Williams, and then Mark Hamill, and then the biggest surprise, which I think we all knew was coming, but it was a case of if they got him, was Harrison Ford coming out on stage at his first Star Wars celebration.
That was such a great panel. I mean, again, like you just said, I think we were all expecting possibly Harrison Ford to come out and to surprise everybody there. George Lucas was really the big surprise. I didn't really expect, with his relationship with Disney after 2012, selling it out and everything, and trying to not just make a buck off of it, but just trying to, move that franchise forward and take it off his back in a way so that he could focus on other things. For him to come back out and to show that he still has a strong relationship with not just Star Wars, but it sounds like Disney in many ways, to please the fans, was great. And one of the things that I think we have to talk about when it comes to the 40th anniversary panel and having Harrison Ford and having Mark Hamill there was, of course, the Carrie Fisher tribute with Billy Lord leading it off. And you want to talk about a real emotional moment, just seeing Harrison Ford and Billy Lord together. I mean, we obviously know from The Princess Diaries, the book by the late great Carrie Fisher, that her relationship with Harrison Ford was very close in very many ways. So to see still some bloodlines there, not quoting the book, but some bloodlines that are still there, and still to show that relationship is strong between the two, was such a great moment.
Yeah, it was nice to see Billy Lord come out on stage and just talk about how she said, what was it, that Carrie Fisher didn't know where Princess Leia stopped and Carrie Fisher started. So, and Carrie Fisher's even said that's about herself and Princess Leia over many years. But yeah, to see Harrison Ford and Bill Lord stand next to each other, and as you pointed out, the Princess Diarists, probably unfortunately the last Carrie Fisher book, there is that relationship between Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford that we're all kind of aware of, and just to see that Harrison Ford still had a connection there. But I think what really got everybody, when I sat and watched it, was the reel they played for Carrie Fisher. that's kind of got emotional at that, because it's quite sad to see her. It started off with a wee bit of clips here and there, then she started talking about, again, as I'm going to say again, like Carrie Fisher, like she made a joke about Carrie Fisher being like Princess Leia being like a Maltese striptease or something, which I kind of started laughing. And then just seeing clips, and it's great that after all those years, she still remembered that the speech that she gave when R2 projects the image to Obi-Wan, and then just it was just great clips to see, especially given the AFI tribute to
Mhm.
George Lucas, just to see play that clip get played again about who was that guy I slept with then. just great clips, just to see Carrie Fisher do all that. It's amazing, and Billy Lord reciting the speech that
Oh
Carrie
man.
Fisher was well known for.
Yeah, that was such a beautiful, beautiful moment. Now, Scott, for me, and I don't know how you feel about this. I know you brought up that when you started seeing this tribute, you got very emotional. What got very emotional for me was the minute they stopped the little teaser trailer almost of like Carrie Fisher's life and everything in the little tribute was when it opened up and it was John Williams and he played the Princess Leia theme. And just hearing that music after watching that and thinking about what Billy Lord went through at that time and everything as a Star Wars fan and just as a human being, that was a very, very emotional moment. And holding back the tears was literally not an option at that time because John Williams was composing the Orlando Symphony Orchestra so beautifully.
Yeah, just it was a great way to start off the John Williams tribute music with the after that wheel straight to the Leia theme, and I wish I was in that room. I wish I was there to be in that room. I mean, to actually hear John Williams play Star Wars music live, that's it. Even though we watched it on our screens at home, but to see that live, I was so jealous. I was just like, oh, I wish I was in that room. But what I loved about John Williams is like everybody was like clapping and cheering, but he commanded that room. The minute
Mm.
he wanted people to be quiet, everybody went quiet. That's a man who knows how to command his audience. It's just like when he wants to play, he will bring them down. He not bring them down. Pure choice of words, but kind of to bring them uh, silent so he could play. I just thought that was amazing. How great he's got that command to do that.
Here come the theories that Snoke is John Williams. He can command a room. He can command the First Order. He can command the dark side. No, I'm kidding. It's probably not a valid theory. But what is a valid theory
You
that
heard it here
is
first, folks.
what is a valid theory though that is now out there and was kind of confirmed here at Celebration was that it kind of looks like maybe a certain character from Clone Wars might have made an appearance in Return of the Jedi. I'm not going to really talk much about it. I'm going to throw it over to you, Scott. Is there something truth or some kind of truth to Captain Rex maybe being in Return of the Jedi and having that confirmed now?
Well, it was kind of brought up. Was it season 2, season 3? It was kind of
Hmm.
discussed then about Rex being. It's the first time they start going into the shield generator bunker on Endor, and you see an old guy with a white beard who,
Hmm.
when you look at Rex now Rebels, it's like he looks very similar to that guy. Designs that have been shown for season 4 of Rebels has Rex in that very particular looking outfit. And it seems that Pablo, and it's mostly Pablo who kind of confirmed it, but Dave
Hmm.
Filoni is kind of like confirming it as well. But it seems that Rex is in Return of the Jedi.
I thought it was Santa Claus at first.
Did you?
I really thought that it was like, ho, 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 let's break into the Endor base. No, I'm just kidding. It's not like that. But, I mean, there was just something. Yeah, you know what were you
I
going to
hear
say? You're
behind the
going to say
Star
a
Wars
great
Holiday
comment.
Special in here. This is a different story. It's
So,
not canon.
yeah, that's true. That is true. If anybody tells you elsewise, then they're wrong. But Captain Rex being in Return of the Jedi, wow. what a cool little snippet. If it's true, if it's not, if Pablo likes playing with our head and Dave Filoni likes playing with our head, which they do, if you know him on Twitter, that's what they do. So we'll see where that leads off to. But I thought it was kind of a nice little thing that they had that in there. And then, of course, when we're talking about Rebels, Rex is obviously a main person within that discussion. But of course, there's Ahsoka, Scott. You got to talk about Ahsoka. I mean, it sounds like she is going to have some kind of role in season 4 of Rebels. What it's going to be, I think all of us here at the podcast network have our own theory about where her role is going to be. But Pablo Hidalgo and Dave Filoni kind of hinted at what Ahsoka's fate might be, not necessarily in just this season, but maybe what we had started to see in the end of season 2.
Yeah, I mean, if you, hopefully people are listening know that if you've watched Rebel season 2, you kind of it left us in a kind of funny place with Ahsoka because when the Sith, I'm going to say Sith Temple structure started collapsing around, and she was battling Vader. Next minute we saw Ahsoka, she was in like the catacombs of the Sith planet, and then we were kind of expecting her to come back in season 3, but then Pablo and Dave Filoni did say that the reason she wasn't brought back is it wasn't fitting in with what they were doing with season 3, so it didn't really work. But we'll get onto this later on about Rebels, and even though you and I discussed it at the Rebels reaction trailer, the fact that this is the final season, obviously you had to bring Ahsoka back to kind of complete that story arc. So yeah, what she's going to be, I know Brian's got a few ideas, you've got a few ideas, all of us have our own ideas basically. But I don't want to say what those ideas are because I feel you guys could probably better explain it. But yeah, she's coming back. This looks like she's definitely coming back by what Pablo said. So yeah, we'll wait to see, and hopefully we'll get some closure to Ahsoka. I feel like Rebels will be where her storyline ends. Whether or not that's true, as she continues on maybe post Jedi, who knows? But I think her storyline will come to an end in season 4.
Absolutely. I totally think that, and I totally agree with you in many different ways. We all have our own theories heading into this next season of Star Wars Rebels. There's a lot of stuff we can break down when it comes to it. However, as we always say, if you guys haven't caught up on season 2 or season 3, first of all, why the heck are you listening to us? And second of all, make sure that you go back and you watch those seasons, see Ahsoka's progression, because I think they kind of sprinkled some stuff throughout season 2 with Ahsoka that is going to get us ready as we move on here. So, Scott, what are the things that we were not so sure about when it comes to The Last Jedi specifically was that whether we were going to get certain appearances or not. And, of course, with the passing of Carrie Fisher, there were so many different questions. Of course, we were mourning. However, at the same time, it was looking forward to, well, what is Carrie's role going to be in the future of Star Wars? Looking at episode 8, episode 9, where is this story going to go without her as an actress, not necessarily as a person, but the role that she plays in this universe?
Yeah,
I think Kathleen Kennedy kind of touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, a report came out about just before Celebration. I can't remember what our brother's called now. Our brother Todd had said that Lucasfilm was going to. She gave the Carrie Fisher estate gave permission for Carrie Fisher to be in episode 9, and everybody. Then news reports went round saying Carrie Fisher's going to be in episode 9 by using footage and having the shot, but are not going to use for episode 8 and episode 9. Then we got word from Kathleen Kennedy over Celebration. It was she was speaking to ABC, and she said to them that Carrie Fisher would be in episode 9, but she didn't say Leia wasn't going to be in episode 9. She only said that Carrie Fisher would not be in episode 9. She said that Todd maybe got a bit confused about what was said and how the information went about. The question is that mean that Leia's going to be recast? We know they're not going to go for the Tarkin of Rogue One by doing CGI on another actor's face. Or is Leia going to be off somewhere else? In which case, in The Last Jedi and Episode 9, it looks going to be a more prominent role. I could see that Tim deal with Kylo Ren and maybe try to buy some redemption to Kylo Ren. Who knows? That's a couple of years down the line, and we still need to see what happens in The Last Jedi. But yeah, it's the fact that Carrie Fisher, she said Carrie Fisher's not in Episode 9, but she never said that Leia was in Episode 9.
You bring up a really good point, Scott, and I think as a podcast network, this is something that we have to set forward as a podcast network that's focused on the positives in the Star Wars community. There are a lot of news outlets that focus on getting the money for the article and getting the big headline out there. But I think what Kathleen Kennedy did was smart, because obviously it sounds like Carrie's brother might have came out and was confused about something. So instead of putting the blame on him for saying, oh, he's wrong, don't listen to anything he's saying, she didn't say that. She didn't say that. She said specifically that, you know what? There's a lot of news out there, and there's a lot of different reports being floated around. However, what I know as the leader of this program here at Lucasfilm, and really the major piece to the development, other than maybe a Hidalgo or a Filoni or a Bob Iger, is that, Carrie Fisher's not going to be in Episode 9. And you said it beautifully, Scott. Doesn't mean Princess Leia is not going to be in Episode 9. Maybe there's a plan that they have set forward. And I think it's time for the community to kind of take a step back, take a deep breath, as Luke says in The Last Jedi trailer. Breathe. Just breathe. What do you see? You know what we see? We see a time when we finally sit down to see this movie and we say, is she in it? Is she not? Did it work? Did it not? And then we have a very mature conversation about it. And that's something that I think, Scott, we tried to thrive on here at the podcast network, is the positive message, but also let's play all the cards on the table before we really just jump to conclusions. Because again, like you said, this movie still has not come out yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're still what, 8 months, 6, 7 months away from this movie coming out. So we just need to see. I mean, we know that Leia's going to have a heavy role in Episode 8. I mean,
Right.
we saw some great pictures of Carrie Fisher on the set of Episode 8. We know Luke is going to be heavily involved in this story as well. He's so important to this story. So we just need to wait to see. We need to wait to see where the story takes us. I mean, that's all we can do. We can jump ahead and go, well, this could happen, this could happen. Let's just take a step back, as you said, and just let us get through to Episode 8 first. Let's see where that story goes. I know they're shooting Episode 9 in July. They're starting filming Episode 9 in July. So it's weird that I think this will be the first time where a movie like Episode 8 has not come out yet, but they're going to shoot Episode 9 in July. So it's like, okay, so how does that, it's one of those things. It's like, how does this work, kind of thing. But we'll wait and see.
The one thing that we are most certain about, and the one thing that we are excited about, and we can just kind of throw out there now, is that Rose, Scott.
Yes.
Rose in Star Wars The Last Jedi. I remember everybody's reaction coming. I was like, Rose? Who is Rose? Oh my goodness. We don't know who Rose is yet.
Well, I thought it was the Doctor's companion at first. I was like, so we're having a Doctor Who Star Wars crossover. I was like, she's trapped in a parallel world. How did she get here in the first place?
Oh my goodness, and that's the beauty of this, is that this fans reacted so, and this is the beauty of the Star Wars community, is that we are introduced to a character, of course, Rose, who's being played by Kelly Marie Tran in The Last Jedi, and it's like, hey, we love her already, and she hasn't been on screen yet. It's so awesome, Scott, that we have, and that we're part of a community where we just kind of embrace these characters as they come to us, and we're like, hey, let's check this out. Let's see how this works. Let's see how it keeps moving the universe forward.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing. We didn't get too much of her. All we know that she's an engineer in the Resistance, and that she will be on a certain quest with Finn. That's all we've really got to know about her. So, I mean, is it going to be that her story might be in a backstory, might be in a novel? Will she appear? right now she could appear in the Poe Dameron comics because that's right the same time frame, so she could appear in that. Um, or will we wait till we get to episode 8, have her show up then, and then get some of her backstory or make her appearance in a comic, a book somewhere down the line?
Right, and that would be a nice way to kind of move her through this universe in a way. Is that um, we don't need to get everything about her right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't need to get all the backstory and everything unless it's a major character. And I'm not saying that Rose is not going to be a major character. It's just when we look at something like the Empire Strikes Back and how they started to include Lando Calrissian in his role, was that we didn't get much backstory about him, but we knew enough that, okay, him and Han have a really close relationship. And there's enough there to kind of build a story from. And look at how popular Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian became. I could kind of see this working with Rose, but however, I'm going to reserve everything until The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I love Lando Calrissian, and he showed up again twice in Rebels. So, and it was great to see him back on there. That smooth talking. You could say smuggler as well, poker player kind of guy. And then he had his own comic book. He showed up in. Actually, I'm not going to say this next part because somebody hasn't read it, so I'm not going to say it just yet. So yeah, he's made appearances in canon. But yeah, as you said, Rose will be one of these characters we will get to know more about. She could be in that kind of background like character that Lando is, but to serve the story a purpose.
And I think that's what the Star Wars universe has to do, especially moving forward now as we move closer to The Last Jedi, is that it's just the finding those little individual ways to move the story forward, whether it is a new character, whether it's just one word that one of them says that kind of, hey, new stars are created. He said the word, but, I don't know. But it's really fascinating. I can't wait to see how her character progresses here as, again, as I say, moving closer to The Last Jedi. Well, Scott, one of the other things I think we have to talk about when it comes to The Last Jedi is that, and a lot of fans have been talking about this, like, wow, we got 3-paragraph opening crawl for The Last Jedi. I wonder if Empire Strikes Back once had a 3-paragraph opening crawl. I think it's going to end up being a copycat episode in many ways. I think Rian Johnson is going to copy exactly how George and Lawrence Kasdan did it. It's kind of hard to really just jump to that conclusion. I mean, this thing is going to be epic.
Yeah, sorry, that's a great voice you do. Even Christian Harloff should start meeting up to do stuff like that. So yeah, 3-page paragraph. Every Star Wars opening crawl's got a 3-page paragraph, pretty much. So it's not a surprise. The only question I have is that what do you put in a 3-page paragraph that kind of where this movie picks up 2 seconds after episode 7? What do you put? Well, Star Wars episode 7, The Last Jedi. Nothing has happened in the last 2 seconds since you left the theatre. But here's what is happening. Rey is still on that island for 2 years and still Luke hasn't spoken. And the First Order has still lost a base. I don't know. The question is, what do you put in a 3-paragraph crawl that a movie takes place exactly 2 seconds after the last one? It's quite hard to put like a 3-paragraph crawl on that.
I have a funny feeling Rian Johnson, being the creative man that he is, has a plan to have it and then we're going to see Star Wars and we're going to see The Last Jedi, and then the only thing that's going to be on there for 3 paragraphs long is
dot.
And then boom, we're back to Octo with Rey and Luke. No, I don't know. It's going to be so cool to see. And it's funny. but I think Ryan Johnson learned from Rogue One in some ways that the opening crawl is like a very important piece of the Star Wars universe, and it threw a lot of people off that it wasn't in Rogue One. So it's like, okay, let's give them something special with this. Let's let them know that this thing is 3 paragraphs long, because guess what? We didn't give you one in Rogue One, so we're going to make it special for you guys, and we're going to make it just the way you've always liked it for the past 40 years. And I think, it's small, but it's kind of cool when you're at Celebration. I think everything's enhanced when you're there. Scott, you've been to Star Wars Celebration. Somebody could say the word butt or toilet, and everybody explodes.
Yeah, I mean, if the word toilet gets put in a crawl, I'll love that. Toilet! That's canon. Well, kind of is in another episode of Rebels.
Yay!
Yeah, and open crawl, I mean, my thoughts on that about an open crawl not being in Rogue One. I hated it. I thought it was stupid. It just didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt like another movie. I've spoken about Rogue One and how I wasn't very happy with the crawl. Loved the movie. I was just felt an open crawl would have been better to kind of understand what the story was about a wee bit more. While you were talking, I was also thinking about what you can put in the opening crawl is where the First Order is, where the Resistance is, and then just where was like just to those that didn't see Episode 7 and who are going to Star Wars for the first time for Episode 8, which that's great, but it's like you should watch Episode 7 just so you caught up if you're going to go to Episode 8 for the first time, because then you might get a bit lost.
That's very true.
So yeah, and a wee bit about Rey has found Luke Skywalker, and well, I don't know how I'm going to put that the rest of it. But yeah, so your 3-paragraph opening crawl can be filled by just explaining Resistance, First Order, and Rey Luke's situation at the moment.
Yeah, no, I mean it seems like they have a plan, and that's the thing about the Star Wars universe. They have a plan. It's just we have to wait. We have to be patient. Enough about opening crawls and everything here. Let's get into what we like to talk about here on Talkin' Star Wars all the time. As you guys know, when you listen in, one of the things Scott and I like to talk about a lot is the books and the comics, the canon content. And Scott, at Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2017, I have to admit, we got a lot of cool book announcements and a lot of canonized material announcements that I was like, wow, I didn't expect to really get this. And one of them, I'm just going to throw them over to you as I'm looking. Captain Phasma by Delia S. Dawson. 5-part comic Captain Phasma series. A lot of Captain Phasma focus, but I think that's because the Force Awakens fans and Star Wars fans said at the end of The Force Awakens, we're just going to leave her in a trash compactor?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big plays that came out about Force Awakens was how underused Captain Phasma was. I mean, when they did the marketing for Force Awakens, she was very heavily publicized. She was in the trailers, the toys, everything. Like everybody wanted Captain Phasma stuff, and then when you saw Episode 7, she wasn't really there. She never shot her own blaster, which I find really upsetting. I mean, there was that one cool picture that got released leading up to The Force Awakens. I think it was released by Empire, of Captain Phasma standing on Dacona outside Maz's broken, destroyed castle. And that was an awesome shot. That was just a pure awesome shot. I can't remember Captain Phasma being on that planet. So yeah, it's just so I think Lucasfilm has realised we made a mistake here. So I think people need to see what Captain Phasma is like. So yeah, we're getting the Captain Phasma book, which hasn't been slated when it's coming out. I'm assuming it comes out before I come over to America late in the year. So when I'm on the plane, I can sit and read this book. I can't wait for the comic because it takes place again. That's another cool thing about this comic is even though like episode 7 and 8 they both are pretty much starting at the same point, we are kind of getting a gap filled in there, but it's coming from Captain Phasma, how she got out that trash compactor. So that's great. And Captain Phasma has appeared in outside the movies, she's currently popping up in the Pope Dameron comics as she appeared in the Before the Awakening, and then Before the Awakening, she taught Finn, so that will probably hopefully play out in episode 8 as well, as like she feels betrayed by Finn. So so yeah, there's a lot of Captain Phasma coming.
Yeah, there's a lot of Captain Phasma for a lot of fans that they get to grasp onto. All of you Star Wars canon content fans, keep it locked here to the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network. Scott and I on Talking Star Wars and everything happening in the Star Wars universe at StarWars.com for all the canon content that's coming out. What's really cool, Scott, is in the near future, people will not have to wait for this stuff. It is coming quick. It is coming fast within 6 to 9 months before this next film comes out.
Yeah, it's coming so fast, and I can't wait to read it. I mean, I will say about this: there's more comic book, more niceness about books and comics this year than there was at last year's celebration. The only one that really got announced was Thrawn, and some of the. I don't know if you've got it over there yet, but it's already been released over here. It's the Adventures in Wild Space. It's like a 9 to 12 book for kids. They got announced over here. That was the only announcement really that came. It was a lot of puzzle books and behind the scenes books. It wasn't really any of the canon comic books that were announced in last year's celebration. So we've got a lot this year.
Which is kind of nice heading out of celebration, is that fans can start getting their Christmas list done. I'm just kidding, not necessarily the Christmas list, but start getting their lists ready for all this canon content that they can pick up at their local booksellers and comic book shops. One of the other things I want to bring up, one of the other books within the canon content that I'm really excited about because I like the first one, has been the Battlefront series from Star Wars Books and Del Rey. And I have to admit, Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad is going to be very interesting because for the first time, I feel like this is a book that lines up really well with one of the video games, which is Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it's going to kind of tell the story around the same time.
Yeah, I mean, we've read Battlefront Twilight Company, and that's because Battlefront is a multiplayer game, the first one. There's not really much story to it, and this is just kind of fill in the rebel side of it. And it takes place like on Summit and Hoth and some other places, but yeah, Inferno Squad is what I'm looking forward to because it takes the backstory of, I can't remember the character's name again. It is, I've got it somewhere. I can't remember. We'll pop up with that later. This character, it follows this character with her squad, and then it ties in with Battlefront 2, which has never really been done before, really. So this will be the first time, because we're getting a single player in Battlefront 2, which I'm very excited about. We'll finally get the. I think it takes place just after Inferno Squad, after A New Hope. So it leads all the way up to Return of the Jedi. And hopefully the Battlefront 2 game will take over where the book ends.
Yeah, that'll be nice that we'll be able to have some kind of connection between canon content and the canon video games. And I think it's kind of nice that Star Wars has teamed up with EA, a very major, they've been a very major video game producer for a very long time, whether it's EA Games or whatever other project they've been working on. It's kind of nice that they have the freedom now to kind of go over to the canon content side and to the Lucasfilm book writers and a lot of the authors and say, hey, you know what? We're going to put this in the game. Do you think you could kind of add maybe a chapter in the book about maybe this one specific part of the campaign mission? Or can we connect these planets in different ways? It's something like you said, Scott, you said it beautifully. It's something that has not been done yet in this universe, and I think fans are going to grasp it. Now, the one thing I would love to see, and I want to get your main idea about this, or maybe some thoughts about this, is what if they take Battlefront 2 and they pair it up with the book as a package that you can buy? That would be something very unique that Star Wars could really run with.
It would be quite nice to buy the two together. Unfortunately, the Inferno Squad is out in July.
Exactly.
And Battlefront's out in November. So I don't think that's going to happen. personally, I would have done that. I would have like postponed Inferno and put it with Battlefront 2. So you get the two boots together, you get both the game and boot together, it'd be a nice wee package. But then there are some places, I don't know what game stores you have over there, but over here we've only got game, and they don't sell any books. The only books they sell are really like the strategy guides for
Mhm.
games, so they wouldn't really do it. I don't think they would sell quite a lot. Probably Amazon or Tesco's or Asda or Sainsbury's over here that would do it.
Yeah, they're it'll be curious to see because I
Mm.
wonder even if like over here in the United States, it's funny because there's the major online geekdom network, which is known as thinkgeek.com, and they have now paired up to create their own stores here in the United States, and they sell books and everything at it. And they've also went out and they bought GameStop, which is
Oh,
like our big time gaming store for all video gamers to go to. They can go, they can buy their games, they can pre-order, and I would not be surprised if not necessarily in the UK or in Europe or in other parts of the world if they did this, but if somebody like a ThinkGeek came in, even with um, the two being really separated in terms of when they come out, if when Battlefront 2 comes out, they don't market the book with it as a way of saying, hey, if you didn't know, this book is on the shelves. You can buy this in the package if you want, but you can also go to your bookseller. It's just, Star Wars has its way of making money even when something has been out for quite some time. And I think it'll be curious to see, Scott, as we move closer and closer to November and December, what the approach is with canon content with The Last Jedi coming up. Everything stems back to what happens with The Last Jedi and within this trilogy, this new trilogy, in many different ways. One of the last things I think we got to talk about here, Scott, and something we've talked about before on our Rebels trailer reaction episode with Brian, was Star Wars Rebels and the Rebels panel, and really what we got to, things that we're going to see in season 4. And I have to admit, overall, this panel did some really, really cool stuff.
so I think this panel made me cry by being saying it's the final season. Um, I, after I was talking about it, I kind of gave it a wee bit of more thought about the panel. Um, we never got really that much. Excuse me. Never got really that much more information about the characters.
Hmm.
I would have loved to, like, it's great we got told that Mon Mothma's coming back. We're told that Saw Gerrera's coming back. There was one other character that said it was coming back. Oh no, a brand new character, Rook from
Rook.
Legends, Thrawn's private assassin. So we're getting that character being brought over from Legends um, into canon and Rebels, and the great Warwick Davis is going to be voicing him. So I can't wait to hear that.
Mm.
But it's just I was comparing it to last year's to this year's, and last year we got a lot of announcements, got new character designs, but this year we got the whole cast together for the last time, and just to see the camaraderie between the cast members was fantastic. You don't really get to see it that much because usually when you watch Rebels Recon on the Star Wars channel on YouTube, they're all separated apart when Andy's talked to them separately. So it's like, oh, you don't see that camaraderie. But yeah, we got a great panel, and we got the trailer, and we spoke about it and how much. I just love the first part of the trailer. It's like a story. Hera's telling, here's how things are. But what I'm really gutted about is this is only a 15 episode season arc, and they're cutting it down from 22, which I thought was really upsetting. But also, I think after the first 4 episodes, each episode after an episode 5 up to episode 15, it's all just going to be a continuous arc. Continuous. It's not going to be like separate. It's all going to follow on from each other.
I think you're 100% right. I think there's a reason that they're doing this 15 episode season to end it all. I think that, we didn't get announced of a new series or anything at Star Wars Celebration in Orlando. We didn't really get any announcements of any new characters, so it's hard to base any judgment around this. However, for there to only be 15 episodes, there must be something else in the works, or there must be something still on the table. And I don't want to run with that. However, it's just so funny that we go from 22 to 15 without there being much more detail about why that's happening. Not necessarily from them directly, but maybe some insiders that are saying, you know what, guys, they're just pulling it back this season because they want to tell this story quick, but they want to give us a lot of different stuff. We didn't get that. So I'm going to be curious to see what they do with that going forward. And you brought it up, Scott, was the camaraderie between all of these people who have been involved with Rebels, whether you're talking about Whitwer, whether you're talking about Freddie Prinze Jr., you're talking about Tia Sakar. I mean, they were very emotional when that announcement came. And I think that as actors, I'm not even looking at them as characters, as actors, they have become this universe. If we see Freddie Prinze Jr., we associate him with Kanan. When we see Tia, we hear the voice. It's like, wow, that's Sabine Wren.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pull away from that, but at the same time, as actors and actresses, we have to look at them and say, they've been on quite a journey, and I think we finally were able to appreciate that with this announcement in some ways.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, I associate Freddie Prinze Jr. with Freddie from Scooby Doo.
Zoinks! Like, hey, Scoops. Ready?
Have you ever thought about auditioning for Scooby Doo at some point? But no, Freddie Prinze Jr. for me will always be known as Kanan Jarrus or Caleb Dune from Rebels, and you put it nicely. You saw the emotion that was coming off stage. I mean, I think it was really heartbreaking for Dave Filoni to say that this was ending, but he also made that joke. And if you're one of these people who watch Clone Wars, you know that he was like, I know what it's like not to have a series to finish off a series. So he kind of, I don't know if that was a dig at Cartoon Network, that he kind of got to he's getting to finish off a story. I was just thinking also with 15 episode arc, the reason probably what to do at 15 is so they can finish off the animation quickly, because they have to start animating the new series and get voice production done. So I've got a funny feeling I might just be, this is just what my brain said, that's why we're only getting 15 episodes, is because they need to start production on whatever the new animated show that's coming. And I think that's why there's a 15 episode season 4 of Rebels.
Bold predictions you have. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot happening. And I think as Star Wars fans, I have to admit, Scott, I'm going to throw it to you for your final thoughts on this celebration. I know we kind of did that with our celebration, our last episode that we did together. However, I think as overall, just looking at how Orlando brought it, you guys can listen to that episode, which is our closing ceremony review about our thoughts about what specifically happened at the end of Celebration. But overall, Celebration brought us a lot of different stuff to talk about. It's keeping us busy for sure, Scott. And I think a lot of podcast networks can say, you know what? There is a lot of stuff for fans to take in as we move closer and closer to December.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of this. As I said at the start of the show, we got a lot of information. We got a lot about books. We got a lot about Battlefront 2. We got a lot about the toys, which I know Chris and Brian will be very happy about. I mean, I'm going to try and get that Thrawn figure as best I can. I quite like the displays of it. And the Talkin. We got a lot about that. We didn't got too much information. We just dropped us bits and pieces, and the trailer for The Last Jedi, and we got that 40th anniversary special panel of all the characters coming back, all the actors coming back. So it was a nice celebration. It was a nice way to cap it off, and it was just beautiful. And as I said on Sunday when we spoke for the closing panel recap, I was gutted they didn't mention where the next one was.
Mm.
I thought that's quite surprising, and I saw a few people online commenting on it, and I left a comment on somewhere else saying, usually at the end of each celebration they mention where it's going to be. I was just quite surprised they didn't mention it. But who knows where it could be. But I want to be there. You want to be there. The whole network wants to be there. I might sell all my stuff just to even come over to it.
You heard it first, everybody who's listening to the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network. Scott is willing to sell his life away to come to Star Wars Celebration with us. No, I'm kidding. It's not going to be that much. But
how much is it?
He's no good to me, dead. No, I'm kidding. No, we're not going to send Boba Fett after you. Don't worry about that. But no, I mean, Celebration this year, you said it beautifully, Scott, did everything it had to do in terms of bringing Star Wars fans content and, most importantly, the discussions that we can run with for quite some time now. Well, Scott, I think it's that time of the show. It's a little thing we like to call here on the podcast network
plug time.
That's right. It's plug time here from the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network and Talkin Star Wars. Mr. Scott Edge, where can the good people find you on social media?
You're meant to say that in a funny voice. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Scott Edge or on Twitter at ScottEdge85.
You guys can follow me over on Twitter at Mr. Vogt Tweets. Make sure to head on over to Instagram. Follow me at The Official Vote. Make sure to subscribe to the Brick City Blockade Podcast Network on Instagram. Make sure to check us out at brickcityblockade.com. Make sure to check out everything happening with AvonCon 2017 happening this weekend. We're going to be talking the villains of Star Wars, so make sure to check out our live stream on YouTube on Saturday with the good Star Wars fans of my home state of Connecticut. So you guys can check that out over there. And like we always like to say here on the podcast network, may the force be with you.
Always.